Being in the Great Bear Rainforest, you feel like you're on the edge of the world. The 6.4 million hectares is part of the largest coastal temperate rainforest on Earth, and sadly, the last one left intact as well. And that's why we're here, to understand the importance of this land and the ecosystem that calls it home, and why now more than ever we need to protect this crucial place. Here in the rainforest, you stand between giants, 1,000-year-old western red cedars and 90-meter-tall Sitka spruce trees. Waterfalls that crash down on the side of mountains, and everywhere you walk, you're reminded that you're not alone.
That's a back foot.
The rainforest is massive, extending from Discovery Island in the south to the BC-Alaska border in the north. And in between, you'll find small communities, like the one we had a chance to visit, Bella Coola. Like the name suggests, the Great Bear Rainforest is home to plenty of wildlife, including black bears, the rare spirit bear, but most abundant, the grizzly bear. The Canadian grizzly bear population is estimated to be around 26,000, with more than half of them living in British Columbia. Here in the Great Bear Rainforest, there's about 1,400 grizzlies, and we had a chance to experience them in their natural habitat, in their home, while visiting Tweedsmuir Park Lodge.
What she's doing is she's stomping. So she's peeing and stomping, and what she's saying is, to whom it may concern, this is my home. And it's a ritual that bears do.
I think, like many, I've always been afraid of grizzlies, mostly because I don't know that much about them. I've only had secondhand information to go by. Ellie Lamb, who's a wildlife guide at the lodge, is known by many in this area as the bear whisperer, and she's been trying to debunk grizzly myths for the guests here.
The biggest challenge for grizzly bears is our own fear as humans of grizzly bears. That's the hardest thing on grizzly bears. We need to understand that they're extremely evolved animals. They have community, their mothers teach them where to hunt, where not to hunt, who to trust, who not to trust. They have culture, they have tradition, they have community, they have a social structure. They're amazing animals. In taking people out and letting them experience their world and the worlds that they create, and if we can experience that, then we will learn more about them, and by learning more about them, we'll take care of them.
So the last few days that we've been here, we've been able to interact several times with one bear in particular and her two cubs, and she's known here by the locals as Perfect. And it's been so incredible to see how comfortable she's been. We've obviously given her her space, and she's given us our space, but she's allowed us to get really close, and so we've really been able to see how she interacts with her young and some of the hunting and feeding techniques she's been teaching them as they prepare for hibernation, some of her behavioral patterns, and it's just been so amazing to experience her in this habitat.
But during our days in the rainforest, we didn't just observe the bears. We were brought into their home. Walks through the forest unveiled more of these unique social behaviors, like spotting hair on rub trees. A recent study determined that the bears use these trees to communicate. It's a way for female grizzly bears to pick up a mate. And deep in the forest, there were other clues that shed more light on the day in the life of a grizzly, like napping nests and dug up carrots that they eat. But there were some troubling signs as well.
She's hoping to get some little morsel of food that she can share with her cubs.
So it was a low salmon run this year?
Yeah, the pink run was extremely low, and the spring or the Chinook or king salmon, they came in, they were medium, not that great.
Ellie's been worried about Perfect and her cubs. They're late going into hibernation this year, and there hasn't been much fish around. They've actually been coming onto the lodge and filling up on grass and other vegetation. Ellie's also seen some females return solo, meaning that their cubs didn't survive last winter. Back in the 70s, the Canadian government opened up the Snootley Creek hatchery in Bella Coola to try and rehabilitate the chum population. It's currently undergoing a $20.4 million renovation. And while it has helped restore some populations, others continue to suffer. And as the climate changes and salmon numbers continue to decline, the grizzly bears have had to adapt, either turning to other sources for food or traveling further in search of salmon. Others have ventured into residential communities. And while hunting grizzly bears has been banned in BC, every year there are still several bears that are shot because of human conflict. And here's the concern. grizzly bear populations don't rebound quickly.
Being the slowest reproducing land mammal, rivaled only with polar bears, many places all over the world have lost the bears.
A female may only have 8 cubs in her 25-year lifespan, and right now they're considered a species at risk. In fact, grizzly bear populations have been extirpated from former ranges in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. And so to try and find ways to protect the grizzly population in the rainforest, Tweedsmuir Park Lodge has teamed up with researchers from the Bear ID Project, who are working on new technologies like face recognition to monitor the bears, identify threats, and find ways to make sure they can keep thriving in this environment, despite the changes we're seeing in the rainforest.
One person at a time learning about these animals is what I think of my job, and then in the future, they'll be with us. We would like them to be with us.